I call the Honourable Member Nikki Wagner. Talofa lava.
Talofa lava, Mr Speaker.
Amaioi.
I'm very pleased to stand today and support the Appropriations Bill. I want to support it because I want to celebrate what Budget 2012 has done for Canterbury and the people of Christchurch. As the MP for Christchurch Central, I really appreciate the commitment by this government to the Christchurch rebuild. It's very appropriate, I believe, that the rebuild is one of the government's 4 priorities, and hearing the Prime Minister say that his government is 100% committed to rebuilding a strong and vibrant city is music to our ears. The budget commitments of 2011 and 2012 gives Christchurch certainty. It gives us uncertainty because it's important for us as the second largest city in New Zealand, as the gateway to the South Island, as the gateway to our tourist destinations, and as an export centre for our agricultural production. It gives us the certainty that we can and we will rebuild. And it gives us the certainty that we can rebuild knowing the government is standing right beside us and right behind us. And it's very interesting to note that the opposition MPs from Christchurch have spoken about everything in the budget, but none of them have talked about the fantastic support for Christchurch and Canterbury. Perhaps that's too positive a story. Now, on top of the $5.5 billion that was specifically allocated for the rebuild in last year's budget, and about $2.4 billion has already been spent, Budget 2012 increased the funding. It increased the funding particularly for SERA, the Canterbury Earthquake Recovering Authority, by $115 million to make sure that they can oversee that reconstruction and make sure that that money is spent well. It also added another $13 million for the community, for NGOs to lead initiatives to support Cantabrians. Now, there's a debate about what the total cost of damage in Christchurch and Canterbury will be. It's estimated at somewhere between 20 and 30 billion. So whatever you think, there's absolutely no doubt that it's the largest, the most complex and the most difficult project in New Zealand's history. But we are making real progress. It is our job to fix and to repair the destroyed homes, the damaged businesses, the public buildings, and to repair the infrastructure. And that job is well on the way. Now, of course, earthquakes damage land and destroy buildings. And so the most difficult job we've had to start with is to understand the geotech under the city of Canterbury, under the city of Christchurch and Canterbury. And it's to look at the zoning for the very worst damaged lands. And that has been a particularly difficult time for residents whose land is damaged, trying to figure out what their future lies. And there are still nearly 2,000 people on the Port Hills in the white zone who still don't know what their zoning will be. However, all the zoning on the residential flat land of Christchurch is complete, so everyone, except those in the white zones, is able to think about moving on, thinking about creating a new future for themselves, and many have. Owners of 7,256 properties with the worst damage are eligible for Crown purchase offers, and to date 6,162 owners have been sent offers. About half those owners have settled, and that's allowed them to move on and to restart. And every day I talk to people who have found new homes, who have moved into new communities, and many of them are very happy. In fact, some of them are ecstatic. We've paid out about $600 million pre-insurance to those Red Home residents and expect to do that again in the next few months. The government has spent out. No, the government has spent $600 million pre-insurance repayments, and then $600 million will come again in the next few months. Now, there's lots of work happening in Christchurch. In fact, that's been a silver lining for many families. Engineers, workmen, tradespeople are everywhere. EQC has repaired over 15,500 homes, and there's another 35,000 homes are in the process. Stronger Canterbury Infrastructure Recovery Team has completed $165 million worth of infrastructure repairs, and they're completing about $40 million every month going forward, which will finally end up with about $820 million. Right now, they've been working on the pipes and the drains under the city. They have examined and assessed and cleaned over 1,000 kilometres of pipes, and they've repaired 20 kilometres of them. Now, of course, buildings have to come down before we can rebuild, and we're getting very good at demolition in Christchurch. There's about 1,000 buildings in the central city that have to come down, and close to 800 have been demolished, with another 200 on the way. I actually live in the centre city, and I go to bed hearing the demolition, and I wake up in the morning hearing the demolition. But I have to say, it is a good feeling to see those broken buildings gone and to realise that we are beginning to rebuild, because things are popping up all over the city. I've got a new house over the road from where I live. My office was a rebuild since September. There's new shopping centres. There's a new supermarket about to open. Briscoe's has got a new centre. There's a new hotel. There's about 26 major buildings being built in Christchurch at the moment. However, there is no doubt it's been an extremely tough time, both physically and mentally for the people of Christchurch. And so health and well-being of Cantabrians has been a really important part of the government's earthquake response. Extra funding and resources for the Ministries of Health and Social Development made sure that we could have a rapid response going right back to September and right through 2011. And the extra money from this health in this budget will also help, because the health facilities in Christchurch, although are working amazingly well, it has been really difficult for everyone, and I would like to pay tribute to the doctors and the nurses and the health professionals that are working under very difficult circumstances to keep our system running, and it is still fragile. In fact, I think most of the people in Christchurch are a little bit fragile at the moment. So Budget 2012 has confirmed an excess of $2.8 billion for Sarah's community wellbeing team. In education, we have an opportunity to look at new ways to deliver to our young people. And it's good to see the increase in the education vote and our commitment to getting a great education to 5 out of 5 young New Zealanders. It was an absolute credit to our schools, to our teachers and our parents that Christchurch students improved their response in NCEA last year despite all the disruption of the earthquake. Christchurch results were 6% higher than the national average, and they did better in 2011 than 2010. So it just goes to show when you focus on education, you have a quality input, you can get a quality output. And one of the silver linings of the earthquake is that young people can see many good jobs ahead of them in the rebuild. We've created 4,500 new training positions in construction, but all types of skilled works are in demand. We need accountants, we need lawyers and managers, and we need everybody who can support the rebuild and our communities. The productivity of Christchurch is essential to the long-term economic health of our country, and our future is looking good. Our economy is operating well, record amounts of exports are going through our port, unemployment is down, and many businesses are not only recovering but are flourishing. I'd like to thank the government for its support of my city in this budget, and I believe that Christchurch is looking forward to a very bright future. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I call Dennis O'Rourke.